What if one of the darkest scandals in modern politics wasn't being investigated but manipulated? What if the very people promising transparency were the ones staging the biggest cover-up of all? That's the reality millions of Americans believe they're witnessing with the Epstein files, and the fallout is shaking trust in government to its core. 17 days into her role as Attorney General, Pam Bondi went on Fox News and made a jaw-dropping claim: the Epstein client list was sitting on her desk. In that single moment, she set fire to public expectations. The country thought answers were finally coming. But instead of clarity, what followed was theater. The White House staged a flashy release of binders hyped as new files, only for reporters to discover the documents were already public. Nothing new, nothing incriminating, nothing close to what Bondi promised. From that point forward, every move looked like smoke and mirrors.
Already publicly available. There was nothing new. After intense blowback, Attorney General Bondi went back to Fox News, the mothership, and claimed that a whistleblower, quote, assured her there were more files, and that, quote, New York, Southern District of New York, was sitting on thousands of pages of documents. And she promised on Fox, and I quote, we will get everything, and the country will see, quote, the full Epstein files. These are quotes from Attorney General Bondi voluntarily appearing on Fox News to explain the situation. For the next 4 months, the Department of Justice and the FBI were silent. What happened during that period? Well, we received information that Attorney General Bondi pressured the FBI to assign, now get this, approximately 1,000 agents in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more documents on Epstein on an arbitrarily short deadline. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. But after this flurry of activity, using tens of thousands of personnel hours in March, it took DOJ and FBI 3 additional months to produce no new documents, but rather an unsigned memorandum on July 7th finding that, quote, this systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. Naturally, after all of the public promises Attorney General Bondi has made, the public is really suspicious of her finding. This suspicion has been exacerbated by public reporting that FBI Director Patel and FBI Deputy Director Bongino disagree with Attorney General Bondi's handling of this matter. Public mistrust has been fed by other claims in the July 7th memorandum. This memorandum included links to surveillance video footage from outside Epstein's cell in the hours leading up to his death. The July 7th memorandum describes one of the videos released as full, raw footage, yet experts who've analyzed it concluded the video was likely modified. The Trump administration has essentially created a new controversy rather than solving one. President Trump is not helping matters at all. Despite his administration continuing making promises about the transparency on Jeffrey Epstein and claims about the existence of records that have not been produced, he is currently telling the country the president is saying this is all, quote, a scam, close quote. Yesterday, President Trump posted on his personal social media site, and I quote, my past supporters have bought into this BS hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson, and they probably never will. That's from the president's personal social media. This is the president talking about his own constituents who are concerned about claims his own campaign surrogates and administration have continually raised. President Trump and Attorney General Bondi are directly responsible for all this confusion and mistrust, and they need to be fully transparent, and they should release all of the documents for the public to review as quickly as possible.
Whistleblower claims of hidden thousands of pages, leaked reports that FBI agents were pressured to flag every mention of Trump, and a July memorandum declaring there was no client list at all. This wasn't transparency, it was a bait and switch, and the deeper you look, the worse it gets. 17 days, that's all it took for Attorney General Pam Bondi to ignite a firestorm. Less than 3 weeks into her job, she appeared on Fox News and made a claim that instantly captured national attention: the Epstein client list she said was sitting on her desk ready to review. Think about that. One of the most guarded, controversial sets of documents in modern political history, and she casually announced it was within arm's reach. The statement was more than just shocking, it was a promise. Bondi was telling the American people that she would deliver the truth, that she would pull back the curtain on one of the most disturbing scandals of our time. For millions who had long demanded answers, this sounded like a breakthrough. Expectations skyrocketed, but promises like that come with weight. The moment she spoke those words, the country assumed accountability was coming, that the powerful and connected would finally be exposed. What followed instead was silence, confusion, and a series of staged gestures that only deepened suspicion. That first declaration was supposed to be the start of transparency. Instead, it became the opening act in a saga of mistrust. Just weeks after her bold promise, the nation was told the big reveal was finally here. The Department of Justice and the White House organized what looked like a major breakthrough, a carefully choreographed media release of Epstein-related files. Reporters, commentators, and influencers were handed glossy binders, staged for cameras as though history was about to be rewritten. But when the pages were flipped open, the truth hit hard. The documents weren't explosive, secret, or hidden treasures. They were already public records. Court filings, prior news clippings, recycled material anyone could have found with a quick search. The new evidence wasn't new at all. It was smoke and mirrors dressed up as a bombshell. The backlash was immediate. Journalists called it a stunt. Legal experts accused the administration of playing games. For the public, it felt like betrayal. After Bondi's extraordinary pledge that the client list was on her desk, people expected revelations, names, connections, accountability. Instead, they got repackaged scraps. This staged release didn't quiet suspicion, it inflamed it. If the files were truly there, why put on such an obvious show? Why waste time with theatrics? The question on everyone's mind became simple: what were they really hiding? After the staged release backfired, Pam Bondi didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down. She returned to Fox News with a new claim, this time saying a whistleblower had stepped forward. According to her, the Southern District of New York was sitting on thousands of additional pages of Epstein documents, pages the public had never seen. She assured the country that those files existed, that they were being hidden, and that she would make sure every last one of them came to light. Her words were designed to reignite hope. The country will see the full Epstein files, she declared. It was a dramatic promise, one that raised expectations even higher than before. But behind the curtain, nothing changed. Weeks went by, then months, with no new evidence and no real transparency. Instead of answers, there was silence. The Department of Justice gave no updates, and the FBI said nothing at all. The longer the silence stretched, the louder suspicion grew. Bondi's insistence that whistleblowers had confirmed hidden files sounded compelling on television, but where was the proof? People began asking, was this a fight for truth, or just another promise meant to buy time? Behind the silence, something startling was happening. According to reports, Attorney General Pam Bondi wasn't simply waiting for files, she was pressuring the FBI to deliver them. Not just a few agents, but over 1,000 were pulled from the Information Management Division, with hundreds more reassigned from the New York field office. The order: work around the clock, in shifts combing through Epstein records on an arbitrarily short deadline. But there was a catch. These agents weren't just told to review documents, they were told to flag every single record that mentioned certain names. Suddenly, the mission didn't look like a search for truth, it looked like damage control. Thousands of hours, massive manpower, all directed at protecting reputations rather than uncovering the full story. After months of frantic activity, the result was not the bombshell Americans were promised. No sweeping disclosures, no hidden client list unveiled. Instead, the public got an unsigned memorandum quietly stating there was nothing incriminating to be found. A dead end. For a nation waiting on accountability, it felt like the ultimate betrayal. If so, many agents had been mobilized. How could the outcome be? Nothing. The unsigned memorandum didn't just disappoint, it raised even more questions. Among its contents were surveillance videos from outside Epstein's cell during the critical hours leading up to his death. On paper, the memo described one of the clips as full raw footage. That phrase alone suggested clarity, transparency, and unedited evidence. But when experts analyzed the video, they reached a chilling conclusion: the footage appeared to be altered. Frames seemed inconsistent. The timing didn't fully match. Technical specialists pointed out gaps that couldn't easily be explained by poor storage or camera failure. If this was truly the raw evidence, why did it look tampered with? Instead of answering questions, the release of this video sparked new ones. Was the government hiding critical details? Was evidence manipulated before being shown to the public? For a case already dripping with suspicion, this revelation only deepened mistrust. The promise of transparency had once again turned into a cloud of doubt. And if even video evidence couldn't be trusted, what hope was there for the thousands of files still being kept from public view? This wasn't closure, it was a whole new controversy, one that cast an even darker shadow. As the controversy over the altered footage grew, another fracture line appeared, this time inside the very agencies meant to uphold the law. Reports suggested that FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Bonino were not in full agreement with Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of the case. That kind of internal dissent is rare, and when it leaks into public view, it signals one thing: a crisis of confidence at the highest levels. For ordinary Americans, the message was devastating. If even the top law enforcement officials couldn't get on the same page, how could the public trust anything being said? The narrative of transparency crumbled further, replaced by infighting and confusion, and then came the public spin. Instead of addressing mounting concerns, Bondi stayed defensive while political allies brushed off criticism. On social media, the scandal was mocked, dismissed as paranoia, even as millions of people demanded answers. The effect was gaslighting at a national scale, telling citizens their questions didn't matter, even as promises went unfulfilled. At this point, the issue was no longer just about Epstein, it was about credibility. If institutions couldn't deliver the truth here, what else were they willing to cover up? The Epstein scandal was never just about one man, it was about accountability, power, and whether the truth could withstand the pressure of politics. From Pam Bondi's first bold promise to the staged release, the whistleblower claims, the FBI pressure campaign, and the suspicious video footage, every turn in this story pushed the public further away from trust. What was supposed to be a moment of transparency instead became a case study in how secrecy and spin can erode faith in our institutions. Senator Dick Durbin's demand for a full release of the Epstein files wasn't about scoring political points, it was about restoring credibility. The Justice Department and the FBI can't rebuild trust by offering half-truths, unsigned memos, and questionable evidence. They can only do it by letting the facts speak for themselves, every document, every page, without filters or manipulation. Because in the end, this isn't just about Bondi or the DOJ, it's about democracy. A system that hides the truth is a system that weakens its people. Americans deserve better. They deserve clarity, they deserve honesty, and they deserve the full release of the Epstein files. No more games, no more delays.